I speak to think. So my feelings, my emotions, my sense of urgency are right out there in the open. Verbal and nonverbal cues are pretty visible to the people around me. And so that extroverted communication style is sort of out. It's extrovert, right? It's out in the space. And then there's also introverted communicators. So those are individuals that tend to think to speak. So they can be a little quieter, a little bit more internal. And I wanted to share with you a couple suggestions I have if you are an introverted communicator for how you can be more effective and help bridge the gap between the two communication styles. Now, a quick disclosure, neither of these communication styles is better than the other. And also, I'm just sharing my perspective as somebody who's extroverted. There are many ways to bridge this gap, but here's a few things that I've coached others on in support of more effective communication. So first thing I suggest for an introverted communicator is to share or expose just a little bit of your process. So if you are thinking about a question and it's taking you a little bit of time to just process and think about what you're going to say, as an extrovert, I sometimes can jump to the conclusion that you don't understand. And then I want to talk more. Or I might even wonder if you heard me, if I was clear, if you're following along in the conversation. So just sharing a little bit of your process can be super helpful. So that might look like, Christine, I understand your question. I'm thinking about a few different things that need to be considered before I answer you, and I'll get back to you. Right, so that's great. So I'm just, yep, we're on the same page, good to go. So share a little bit of that process, just a little bit, so I know what's going on for you. Second thing, I want to know that introverts understand the sense of urgency. This has been a pain point that I've experienced many times. And so just offering it up and confirming can go a super long way. So if you don't respond immediately, right? So I might start to think as an extrovert that an introvert doesn't see it as the same sense of urgency. They don't find it to be all that important. And I want that confirmation. So you don't have to communicate that like an extrovert, right? You don't have to get louder. You don't have to get faster in your talking. You don't have to make big motions. You can simply say, Christine, I get how important this is. When we finish up this meeting, it will be the first thing I work on. I think you'll hear back from me in the next hour. Perfect. So just communicate that, yes, we're on the same page about urgency. And if we're not, we'll have the opportunity to negotiate that. And then the last thing that I really recommend is ask for what you need. So as an introvert, you likely, as somebody who thinks to speak, likely would be well served by getting the data before the meeting. You'd likely be served by seeing a really clear agenda and where your part comes in. So if you're not getting that, ask for it. That's going to help both of us. It's going to help me because I want probably a response in the room. I wanted to make some traction, and you don't want to be put on the spot to have to come up with an answer immediately. So just asking for what you need can go a long ways. So share a little bit of your process. Be clear when you understand the urgency. So communicate that you understand the urgency, and then ask for what you need. That's going to help us bridge the gap between introversion and extroversion communication. And then for those of you like me that are extroverted, know that these are some of the challenges. So ask. So how I can show up different as an extrovert is say, I'm not sure what's going on for you over there. You've been quiet, you haven't responded. Am I being clear? Was there anything confusing? Or do you just need a little time to work through this? Right? I can also say, what do you need from me before we walk into the room? What prep work would be useful? And I might just say, can we just talk about if we're on the same page around urgency? Where does this fall into your priorities? So I know that, we're working, at the same pace here. So that can be helpful. So I hope this is useful for you as you continue to grow your communication and get more effective and build really strong relationships in your life.